Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Becoming Multidimensional. It's Christine. Eliza is still in Europe on her European sabbatical, and she will rejoin when her adventure is finished. Today, I am so delighted to welcome Bobbi Vogel. Bobbi is the founder of Etheric Medicine. She is a spirit taught clairvoyant healer, medium, medical intuitive. Bobbi has the ability to look into your etheric field and see what is vibrationally out of alignment, work with that energy before it duplicates into your body. She has so much other work that she does. She works with horses. I know she's worked with many celebrities. She's done thousands of these sessions. She has a wealth of information and knowledge coming straight from spirit, which is a really rare and special gift. So I'm really honored to have Bobbi on the show and hear about her journey into her work and her mission, what she's doing here, and the why behind the work that she does. So, Bobbi, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. What a great intro. Yeah.
Well, it
Thank
was fun to dive into you and all of I've been watching your YouTube videos and listening to other people talk about you. So it's always fun to understand a person a little bit. I know there's so much more to the work that you're doing. So
you.
I know there's more to hear about your work.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for the deep dive.
So I know that you've been doing this work since 2016.
Mhm.
So, can you share sort of what, and this was a spirit taught experience, can you share what happened to move you from the work that you were doing to the work that you do now?
Yeah. I say consciously doing the work, since
Yeah.
2016, because what I realize is, as all of us, we can sort of look back during the cycles of our life, the things that we've been doing, whether it's a job or, these things. And really what's cool is to see that everything has to do with everything and culminates into like this moment in time. And we never really know
Mhm.
what's moving forward. So, and reflecting on those things, I didn't know that I had these gifts as a real estate agent, for instance. And I was a top producer, because what I now realize looking back is, with, because I work with land now and these energies and healing houses and things, that I was tapping into the soul of the home and the land vibrationally, and having this, like, it was like being acquainted with the
Yeah.
energy of that. And when if I was a listing agent, when someone would come in the open house, I would always know who was a vibrational match somehow. I never called it that. I just was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is fun,
Yeah.
like, yay. And I was incredibly successful effortlessly. I didn't have business cards or anything. And then before that, I was a paramedic, and I was pre med when I was 20, and my dad was killed in a car accident. And it was the same sort of
Mm.
thing that I was able to see somehow. And again, I wasn't conscious of it. I was able to see what was about to happen. But so I was having a really hard time like 10 years ago or so. I moved from the Bay Area, where I was a successful realtor, to Los Angeles, to Venice Beach, California. And nothing worked. Like my Midas touch, people used to call me Midas in the Bay Area, and nothing I was doing was working. And I have, I had adopted a little boy, and things were really challenging. There's such a deep story. And in, the essence of his privacy, I don't want to say much. I ended up losing everything, and had a sheriff sticker on the door for an eviction. I had owned home, I lived in homes in the Bay, I owned apartments, like all these things. And I found myself having to leave my Mercedes Benz in the parking lot at the Ross parking lot in Venice Beach. If anyone knows, is on Lincoln Boulevard. And I
Wow.
had, my plate said Bobbi V, right? Like, oh, all these things were going so well. And the bottom fell out. And I don't have family, things like this. So it was just me. And I tried to do all the things that I'd always done that worked for me throughout my life as I've been on my own, since I was 17, didn't work. And so I, gosh, I haven't told this story in a long time. Divinely guided, apparently. And so, because it really was the beginning of everything for me, and so my son was acting up in these ways and everything. And I only had a few days left in the apartment. And so I started one day, I got him to school and I started having a pillow fight with God, literally, who I didn't even believe in, since my dad died when I was 20. But I found myself furious with God and booger crying and banging a
Yeah.
pillow off the wall and like boogers.
Yeah.
What? Why? Why? What am I doing that's so wrong and so bad? Am I this shitty of a person that this is my experience? And really deep into this, and the level of pain that I had a plan. This was a Wednesday night or Wednesday morning, I'll never forget. And my plan was to leave my body on Monday. And that sounds intense, but I had it. I couldn't, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm going to leave here. I'm just like giving God an ultimatum and saying, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm scared. And I asked, like, and said, I am off. I'm off the rails. I need to come back and hit the reset button, and I'm okay with that. I just don't understand what I've done that's so bad that this is my life.
Yeah.
And I heard for the first time clearly. My guides were, I could, they used to be on my right and then showed up on my left. And God, the beautiful masculine vibration of, compassion and love, unconditional love. But I heard clearly, you still have healing to do. And I said, on my hair standing, and I said in that moment that there's a lot of talk about near-death experiences and things right now. And it's important to say that we don't need to have like a literal near death, like what we consider near death, like where we're like in a hospital or we're, somewhere literally physically dying. Because this, for me, is, in my understanding of what spirit has taught me, is like, well, this was my near death. The first one, I've had two.
Okay.
One recently, and which was in my pilgrimage. But I said I had this knowing, higher knowing, that where my tears stopped and I said with such clarity, and this is what I share other people need to be saying because it's all that matters. In response to you still have healing to do, I said, I'm trying. I'm not meaning to renege on anything that I said I would do. So I had this notion that I was this being, soul in a body suddenly. I just don't know what it is. What did I come here to heal? And what did I come here to do? Because I want to do it. I just need help. And the level of reverence and truth that was in my cells in that moment shifted everything. I didn't know it, but once I felt that in my own being, And then I said, hey, God. And it's kind of funny because I literally was giving ultimatums to God. I
Yeah.
said, again, I'm fine coming back. Like, and I really am. I'm not scared and, or any of those things, which as a paramedic, is that's when you're really like, oh, okay. Cause when people want to accomplish this, when they're ready to go, they go. There's not a lot of talk about it, right? It's not a morbid conversation. We're all human. It's just the truth. And so I was aligned with that truth, and I said, but if I'm supposed to stay here, I'm going to need a pretty big sign from you, and not subtle, because I'm really exhausted and I don't, I can't with all that. So it's going to have to be, big sign. And not everyone needs that, but that's what I needed. And I suppose I was, looking back, they're saying is like I was beginning to tether myself to faith, which is
Hmm.
what we all need to do,
Yeah.
like right now and forever. Is like I didn't have that understanding in the moment, but again, my higher self was also in play. And so it's like this, wrapped it around my waist and was like, I'm going to create this opportunity for deep faith by asking
Yeah.
and then hoping I receive, right? It's like, because that's what we have to just ask and receive. Um, and then, the next day came, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I was like, okay, and I began releasing like my worry about all of these physical world things, problems, and what were the solutions. And I just kept moving forward. And on Saturday, somebody from Chicago, where I'm originally from, reached out like randomly
Hmm.
and said, because I didn't have money for food, nothing. Like,
Yeah.
and so when she said, hey, can I take you to lunch? Oh, yes, that would be great. you know? And so we went to lunch. We talked. We didn't talk about any of this. I didn't share any of this, and just had this regular, just chitty chat conversation. And we were getting up to leave, and she wasn't a spiritual person. She said, "Hey, have you heard of this place, Agape?" And I thought it was a Mexican restaurant. And
Hmm.
and so no, I haven't, but sounds great. Where is this restaurant or whatever? And she's like, no, it's a spiritual community, Michael Beckwith. I was like, no, I don't know Michael Beckwith, and this and this. So anyway, she just mentioned it. Oh, you should check it out. Didn't think about it again. Well, I woke up Sunday morning and I had like 2 more days or something like this. And I lived right near the beach, and I hadn't been to the beach in a long time because I just was so distraught. And I thought of this place, Agape, and so I looked it up. And I'm trying to bottom line this, but it's like this vibrational tone that needs to be infused here because it's important, because it is step by step, moment by
Yeah.
moment. It's not these doings, that it's all important. And so I looked it up, and there it was. And it was starting in 30 minutes or something. We were 20 minutes from there, whatever. And I said, let's get in the car right now. And I think we had a rental car because, my car was gone. And I didn't know why I was going or anything. I would think I was like in my pajama, like my shorts and a t-shirt that I
Yeah.
slept in. I didn't brush my teeth, nothing. And we got there a little late, so they had to close the doors. If you've ever been there, I don't know, but the doors close when Michael's doing the meditation. And again, I didn't know who he was. So we met a closed door when we got there, and the doors opened, and there was like 2,000 people in there. I was like, oh my God, this Michael guy, is a big deal apparently.
Yeah.
Standing standing room only, except there were two seats right there to the right side.
Oh,
And I don't know why.
waiting for you.
Yeah. And I wasn't yet like, oh, there's two seats. It was divinely, I wasn't in any, I was a very different person.
Yeah.
So we sat down, and there were people surrounding us and everywhere. And within 2 minutes, maybe, I had my shirt like this, and I was like, sobbing. It's just water because, and I always say, I wish I'd have known the exact date of that. And I'm sure I could figure it out because to this day, I don't know if he really was saying, like, if everyone else was hearing the same thing. Probably, I don't know. But my mom and dad, who are both on the other side, and God, all of a sudden were surrounding me. And what was coming out of his mouth, which I do understand now because there's a lot of things that get said that don't make sense, but they're for someone else. He
Yeah.
was saying, he was speaking exactly to um, every piece of my,
Yeah.
where I was in my journey, what I was thinking, but then spoke to who I am and how dearly loved I am, and that we all have purpose here and these beautiful things. I don't even remember exactly what. And it was in that moment that the receiving came. My question, you better intervene or I'm out,
Mm.
and that in that moment is so pivotal because that's when I was tethered to this unwavering faith. And I didn't realize, and I left there. Actually, I called out to him still, like, he had bodyguards around him or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, Michael, it's funny now because I don't think that's something people do, but he stopped and I walked up to him and I just said, you saved my life.
Wow.
And, because that was real and true, and it's making me emotional because I know that this work and spirit speaking through us, God speaking through us, saves lives and heals. And so speaking the truth, bringing the truth through on behalf of whoever, which is why I opened this with the meditation
Yeah.
that I did. It's I am so reverent to this work. Lots of things happened since that, and all the things. And I had spirit, earth angels intervening, and ended up renovating homes and buying and flipping and trying to again revive my real estate license, which is, answering your question. Everything I did from that moment to this moment is wrapped and infused, even when I get scared because I'm human, even when all the things. I know, as we all are, that I am divinely guided, that there is purpose in everything, in our pain, in everything we've ever done, everything we've ever experienced, everything good and hard, and it's all good. Everything's good. And that it is on our soul's behalf that we are experiencing it. And if we can tether ourselves to that, to faith in that we are that we are here on behalf of our souls, it gets us through. And I know we're in a time right now where spirit is really wanting people to understand the depth of this, that we are spirit and body, and that everything that we need is here and available, even when it doesn't look like it.
Or maybe even especially when it doesn't look like
Yeah.
it. So, okay, first of all, I'm really honored that you just shared that whole story.
Yeah.
That was a really vulnerable, beautiful moment. So, thank you for sharing that. And I think sharing a story like that, and I'm similar to you, the people that I work with can come in to see me really in the depths of despair. And so hearing other stories of other people who've gone through those experiences and alchemize them
Mhm.
in this beautiful way to become this greater aspect version of themselves is a lifeline, is a tether. And so thank you
Oh, of
for
course.
sharing so vulnerably that. I'm not sure about your practice. I do see a lot of people who really, who you wouldn't think would have anxiety, who seem to have everything going on in a perfect life, but are riddled with anxiety and fears. And
Mhm.
so this is a time when that energy, I think, is very pervasive in the collective.
Mm, mm, mm,
And so reorienting ourselves to what you're talking about, this aspect of faith, this aspect of trusting our path and what's happening, even the hard things. And we can get into this pilgrimage and this beautiful work that that you are bringing to the planet right now, that really, that some of the fuel and the energy came from some of these hardships and difficult experiences that propelled you towards this beautiful work of the healing work. And I know that you can talk to horses, and you've done horse healing, and you can look into bodies and see how someone is vibrationally out of alignment. And I know that you've mentioned before that there are other things that you're even we're always in
yeah.
expansion, that you're expanding into even more that I haven't been privy to see online about you yet. So anyhow, those stories are really powerful. Stories are always, I think, incredibly helpful. Your story a tiny bit reminds me of, I had the most beautiful, and I'm going to take a moment to acknowledge her, because she just died a week ago.
Mm,
Her name was Jo Dunning. She was an incredible, gifted spiritual teacher and healer, like profound wisdom, and self-taught the same way that you are. She had a really traumatic experience that propelled her. She had been an English teacher for many years. And it makes sense because she ended up being this incredible teacher. But she had this very traumatic experience. She had a home invasion,
mm.
and her partner was
Oh,
killed and she was shot. And
wow.
it was a very traumatic experience for her. And that horrible experience for her
Mm,
propelled her forward. She realized these gifts that she had when she came out of the hospital, and slowly, it took her a long time to heal, but these gifts that came in and this direct knowledge from spirit. Greg Braden wrote about her in a book. They were at a convention together, and some man had fallen and hit his head on off of a curb, and he watched her. There was just the two of them in the parking lot. She went over to him, and he was bleeding, and she was just doing energy work over his head. And someone called for a paramedic, and when the paramedics arrived, they could see the blood, but the cut was gone. They didn't know where the blood came from. So my point in telling the story is, through this very traumatic, horrific experience, these beautiful gifts came. And so no matter what you're going through, there can be these incredible opportunities, even when it looks very frightening and when it feels very horrible. There's always the potential for massive growth, transformation, and love and gratitude and peace on the other side of it.
That's absolutely the truth. And I would like to add to that, because right now I work with people in this, which is why I'm saying this, and I have a bird's eye view intentionally in this expansive work to see what's going on, and how can I help, which is the main reason, right? That there's, and this is meant so compassionately, but everything that people are doing or being or calling into their space as experiences or teachings or learnings are within this. It's like the only purpose that people are willing to step into must be in the health and wellness space. I was guided to say that because it's really prevalent. And so, because ultimately what's going on there is all the people that you said, oh, I wouldn't think they have anxiety or this or this. Because I've worked with,
Yeah.
the density being called cancer for years now as a training, being flanked by spirit doctors. All the unravelings from that, really, we look at, what came before that, right? And the anxiety that's being created by trying to find, yes, I want to find my life purpose only if it's in this container. I can only see here. And the other day in a session, Spirit said, or maybe it was a talk, I can't remember, that if you do this, you can see a little here and a little here and a little here. But like, how do you know there's like $1 million stacked there off to your right that you can't see? So it's an analogy for like your purpose is in your space, but your nose is against the wall. And so we want to look at why. What is it within us that is, because we're all wounded children, right? So, and we'll talk about this, but there's something that this is salve we're trying to put on our brokenness, on our self-worth, because as I can use myself as the example, tying back to that moment where I was, buying and flipping houses. I said, what did I come here to heal? What did I come here to do? I've never left that. I say that every day, as I know that there's constant expansion. I don't know what I'll be doing next, but I'm willing to do it, whatever it is. It could be making hot dogs. I say that a lot because I love hot dogs. But so I'm like, when do I get to make hot dogs? I try to
I
fit
love
it in
that.
any way I can.
Yeah.
Now, how about now? How about now? So I'm joking, but kind of not. I mean, if I'm
Yeah.
meant to do something else, I don't have my heels so dug into this. Although it would be insane to me to learn and be spirit taught and to go through all the things that I've been through to end up making hot dogs. But that might be kind of nice, even. I joked and said, Spirit brought me here kicking and screaming into my purpose, because this is never what I thought I was going to be doing. Not even a blip. I wanted to be a
Yeah.
doctor, right? So then I was a paramedic because I blew off like 9 years of my life. But it's because I asked, and I was so devout to my soul, as this human. I was never trying to get out of being human. I was trying to do the legwork of my soul, right? Or as I still am. It's not past tense. And if we can really bring that in and know that, and be that devout to where, hey, if it's not in this container, like, get rid of the container and know that, and if it matters to you, which it should matter to all of us, so that we can all get back online and rise together. No one's going anywhere without each other, because we are all connected. So what does as above, so below mean if you don't really understand what that means, right? So for us and the others, all sentient beings. And so it's because I asked, it's because I still ask. And when you are devout to that and know that, we are the fractal of light, God non-denominational, we are God's intention to be here in physical form. And that every single fractal of God as us, as a human being, is here with a divine mission that we already signed up for. We already did that before we came and took this body. And as a training years ago, I had to watch my own, not had to, but I was blessed enough to watch my own reincarnation as a teaching.
Yeah. Well, you said something about the fractal of
Mm-hmm.
God, and I love that piece there. I was listening to something that you said earlier today, and I hope I get it right, because you said fractals are the geometry of eternity. And then when you think of us as being fractals of God, we're the geometry of God in some way.
Or the
Like,
geometry of eternity. We know we
yeah.
are fractals of God. I know that. It's
Mm.
not, so I don't, not that there's no judgment, but I purposely I don't listen to podcasts much. I don't
Mhm.
take information in much. When I'm guided to, I do. And it's usually, oh, that's a piece I
Yeah.
needed to put together here. And I
Yeah.
love that, because then, when I hear something that is aligned with what came straight through my soul remembering, and God, and my communing with spirit, and people on the other side, which have, as we all know, profound teachings and truths for us. We don't have to die to learn the truth. We can believe, and this is a big push with spirit right now, is believing the truth of us while we're still here in physical form. Not to transcend being physical, but to bring in the truth that we are both. And to utilize that knowing every single day in this video game that we've created called our life, right? And the power that is. That is pure power. No matter where you find yourself, what circumstances, what illness, disease, grief, purpose you think you can't find, is you are in this very moment a fractal of God, that endless, eternal, powerful light that can create from the place that you stand right now.
Everyone listening, if you can just take a moment to really soak in Bobbi's words, and if it feels right to you, just for a moment, just for a glimmer, imagine yourself as that fractal of God. Because when you can imagine it, you feel this just incredible beauty within your being. When you allow yourself, just for a moment even, to feel that within your being.
What's coming through here, and then if you have any resistance to doing that, why?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
You know, there was something else you said, and that I really loved. Lots of things you said that I love, but you were talking about this reverence for your soul, while also having this reverence for your body, because we're here for a reason. And being this fully embodied, really, I love the word reverence for your physical body and being here.
Well, it's, reverence for your humanity. What I've seen, in the world in my sessions is being in opposition, constant opposition. Like we can't find our purpose. It's our body's fault. We're this. It's our body's fault. We don't feel good about it's this. Everything comes back on the human, and it's on the humanity, on the physical body, and then we wonder why. Why are we not in coherence with the food that we're eating anymore? Why are we not in coherence with the earth, the beauty that holds us all and charges us energetically, because we don't understand who we are? If we're not that, then we're nothing, right? This is our thought. If we're not transcending out of our body and like always in the fifth dimension, then somehow we're screwing up, or we don't have enough information, or, so I need more information. It's like, no, you don't. You already have all the knowing. You just don't remember, and you're not giving yourself the space to remember because you're in this place of desperation, which is why everyone's got so much anxiety.
Okay. That was a pack full. That was a lot to take in and really great. We're not giving ourselves the space to remember. That's a really powerful piece, that if we're not remembering it, we're not feeling this coherence, and then we kind of go into our minds, we go into panic, which brings us into further disharmony and less able to remember these truths, these wisdom, that understand.
Okay, well, if we're fractals of God, right, that are eternal, and one of the main reasons for being here is healing, like, what does that mean? What does that word mean? Because words don't really mean anything, because we're nonverbal beings, we're spirit, we don't use words.
Yeah.
And so I have watched how people heal, including myself, is I understand it's like the synthesizing, the taking the resonance and the truth of the soul as us, the light being, the fractal of God, and weaving it with our humanity, constantly bringing ourselves back to this place of alignment in the places where we're out of alignment with our thoughts, with our, all the things, the trauma that creates all these beliefs about ourselves, and, the wounded child. And it's not about like this end result of healing. That's not, people that are crossing over will tell you, oops, like, I was
Yeah.
already that. I was
Yeah.
already this whole time in my body. I believed that I wasn't already perfect and that I wasn't already spirit and that I wasn't already a fractal of God and that all that pain and all those things were really ways for me to transcend my soul. Those were tools for my soul's transcendence. And when you hear spirit upon their reflection, their review, they call it, these are just such simple, astounding truths that do we ever really heal? No, we heal and we're bringing in stuff from our past lives that was left unsynthesized, if you will, or out of coherence, or, we never really figured it out, or we never really figured out how to forgive. And we couldn't forgive
Yeah.
ourselves. Like it's about it, we couldn't find our way back. So this synthesizing is really like find your way back. Find your way back.
I love that visual, and it almost just reminds me, like the way you described it in a way of the synthesizing, like the caduceus, even like with the serpent sort of like rising up, which is the symbol
Mm.
of healing and
Yeah, I
health.
guess.
That's just what came in for me with that. I love all of that. I would love to know, I think people probably would be really curious to understand some of the work you do. And you mentioned you've done a lot of work with cancer and you really understand the energy of cancer because everyone we know has had someone
Mhm.
experience cancer, I think,
Mhm.
pretty much at this point. What you understand about the energy of cancer?
Wow. Well, I mean, so many things, right? I mean, people are always like, you should do a course, and I don't like that
Mm.
word as far as like how useful is it really, because we need to be with each other in the moments, right? Because they are moments, and we can miss them for each other, miss the moments to support each other. What the way Spirit refers to it is like you become part of the cancer club and you get here's your bag, this is what you should take,
Okay.
this is, now you should learn how to heal yourself, you should do all these things. And people tend, I get it, out of fear, because I it's unimaginable, right, to most of us. Out of fear, it's like there's this kind of going in, unbeknown to them, sort of going into more of a survival mode because it's terrifying, right, to our
Yeah.
humanity.
Yeah.
And many people get into the doing, and that becoming an opposition really to this density. And they can't understand that any illness is meant to change your life. It's not here to oppose you, it's actually here to change your life first and foremost. But many people derive a purpose from it outside of themselves, other
Hmm.
than just finding their way back to themselves, and want it that, the cancer is here for them to teach other people how to heal, or to do this or to do that. And it really is a time to come to like close. I do this because it's like close the shutters. It's like come inside and cry, right? Be with yourself and really allow. It is always, and I know this is, and I, even when I heard this, it was like, oh really? And I just went through it on my own pilgrimage. Even though I'm doing all this work in the world, I still met the wounded child in a fierce way again, because it was time so that my work could expand and so that I could help people understand exactly this, which is we all need to go back for that kid. Every one of us. The wounded child doesn't ever leave. It's that same, how do you dance with it? How do you welcome and care for that is within all of us, and be the adult, but continue to seek what is that, because it's different for every person, but it's an inward journey, and there is no course that can teach that, because it is so
Right.
unique. And it is such an intentional that this moment was always going to come, and this moment's different for everyone. But if we could understand that, really, 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 that there is no other us, and that there is no duplication of our physicality, our energy, our purpose, our divine relationship with God, with spirit, like everything is so unique. And so when we want to lump ourselves in with anything, that's where we start kind of getting away from the truth of us.
Oh, interesting. So I want to make sure I'm understanding it a little bit. When you're saying we're lumping ourselves into sort of the group, it's so let's say you get a cancer diagnosis and like I'm part of the cancer club, and then you tether yourself to that as opposed to this isn't all of me. You're giving it so much energy. And now this is not medical. We're not offering medical advice. We're just offering a perspective on illness right now from an etheric, energetic viewpoint. But I have seen also, I think this is really interesting you say that. I have seen that when someone does get a diagnosis of something, that they can often become so attached that they can almost start imagining symptoms because that frequency, that fear is so deep that they almost can create other issues. And so I have really myself been working with how to help people disconnect from that diagnosis in an energetic way almost, so that they don't create more of an issue, that they can. I think it's easier to handle it and to work with it, not being so bound to it.
Right. I mean, that's a huge part of it. I mean, there was a point in time before my pilgrimage where, I thought my next level of service was going to be to have a healing center where I could do exactly that, because communing with the bodies, and I have collaborated a lot with doctors, medical doctors, and as an aside,
Mm-hmm.
what comes through
Yeah.
from the body and, spirit and my soul's knowing of this, somehow I have an understanding of this density, and is being driven by the wounded child, the wanting to get the needs met,
Okay.
and not wanting to be alone. And so becoming part of a larger group
Okay.
is like air, right? And that's said with, of course, it's understandable. So much
Oh yeah.
compassion in the space for that truth, but it's the truth, right? So what's happening is medicine, every kind of medicine, is trying to pinpoint and heal via all these other things in the physical, and energy and laser and all the stuff that's being
Yeah.
mixed in. But none of those things can be effective until it's the calming of the electrical system, first of all, because anxiety and that quivering, first of all, in the etheric
Yeah.
body. I mean, I've been talking about this for years. When spirit gave me the name etheric medicine, when I said, what am I doing? This is, what is this called? So your etheric body is quivering, and our physical body being the duplication, the hologram of the physical, that quivering duplicates into the physical body as now, felt anxiety. And anxiety is the root, is the beginning of every single disease, illness, mental illness, like everything, because we're not in a flowing state. And our body, our organs, I call them a puppy pile, because they all have it sounds crazy, but they have different personalities, different vibrations, different needs at different times, at different moments, which is where medicine is kind of still missing the mark. Is that, and I've worked with people in their homes for weeks at a time. I don't go in with an agenda other than, hey, what does the body need right now? Is it any of these things? Is it something else? Is it this? But how much of this? Oh, that's different today than yesterday. That's different than it was 2 hours ago. If we can understand like the truth, like it's like the body does have an innate ability to heal itself. but we are constantly intervening with what we think it needs, but we don't ask, and we don't know how to ask because we're listening to everyone else tell us how to do that. We're taking courses about it. We're, whatevering. And it's not a judgment. It's just like, this is where we're at. We're not asking, just like we're not asking, what did I come here to heal? What did I come here to do? Simplify. Yeah. You already agreed to that with God and your guides before you came in here. Ask what it is. That's it. And the body it's not just, is it not getting what it needs, but is it getting too much? Is it getting what it doesn't need? Because when you put what it doesn't need into it, because you think that, that's what this course said, or that's what I read, or that's what I this, or, I have to be taking supplements. I mean, everyone's taking supplements, right? I mean, you have to have supplements, right? It's like, oh, no, you don't. Does your body want those? Because whatever you're putting, because you're the boss, whatever you're introducing into your body because you think it's a good idea without knowing, somebody, it doesn't mean you have to learn it, but find somebody who can commune with your body. This is the other thing. This isn't about learning to become a medical intuitive or a psychic so that you can heal yourself. I know I'm going off a little, but this is really important. It's like I say, if you're a detective and there's a kid that goes missing and you've become aware that psychic mediums are able, forensic, that we're able to tap in and literally rewatch what happened and likely figure out where that kid is, would you be like to the parents, you know what? I just heard and watched this show where a medium found this kid. And there's a course that I can take in about a month that'll teach me how to do that, and then I'll go find your kid. Would that be acceptable? I mean, why would you do that? But that's what we're doing. That's what everyone's doing, because we're all in this container called the health and wellness industry.
So, yes, you were talking about the health and wellness industry and how so many people are involved in the health and wellness industry. And sometimes it makes sense to find somebody who is an expert in their field and already practicing.
I mean, and again, there's no judgment in here. This is just a redirect that there are people right now embodied on the planet who actually did come here to do this work and are prepared to meet you where you are and to right where you are with whatever it is that you need. So a lot of the anxiety that I know in the space is in the bodies, is this anxiety that somehow, when there's enough information learned, or when this or when that, is like, there is no when. There's only now. And so what can you do right now to take care of yourself, to get the help that you need, so that you can move forward, and that we're all, whether we have this granddaddy of all densities being called cancer, because that is a compilation. That grandfather of all densities wasn't overnight. There were a lot of vibrational, physical things, unhealed things, environmental things that started way out there. We come with things to heal from other souls, other lifetimes. That's why, past lives can really help us. So this is why I call the etheric body the space of possibility, because wherever it's coming from, inside, out, is that our etheric body is like, it is the book of our life. It holds everything. We don't get a new one when we come in. We're the same light being. We're the same fractal of God.
Okay, so I have to pause you there, because you're the first person who I've heard say this in this way, because we think about this body as being like this one body we have in this lifetime. But I've never thought about, well, this light body that we have isn't like this light body that we've had has traveled with us for eternity. Yes, our light body has been with us for all time. That feels, by the way, for me, there's something in feeling like that I have with me surrounding my physical body, this eternal body that has always been with me, feels like a very stabilizing force for me. I had never heard it in that way or thought about it in that way. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's just the truth of us. And I was taught this, shown this 9 years ago, and oddly, not oddly, whatever, it was again, me being devout to myself and just in my little garage in one of the renovations that I had done, where I was with God and my guides, only focusing on me and healing. Because when I heal, because we're all connected, right? But it was me so devout to it. I said, when I started realizing, oh, it's not just me that I can see these things with all this information. So I'm constantly just describing what I'm seeing. And so when people talk, it doesn't matter so much the words that they say, unless they're words that are like that are
Mm-hmm.
assaultive to their being.
Right.
That's why reframing words to be kind and resonant. I asked, am I in the right body to serve? Because I had started seeing these things, and then like friends of friends or whatever would say, hey, this, one of my first experiences was the friend of a friend couldn't get pregnant. And so I was like, I mean, okay, I'll see what I can do. Like I was so humble, as I still am, but Spirit's like, you're a little too humble. Knock it off. And she was young, 30, whatever. And she came to my little dark garage that I had set up as kind of a little sanctuary. And I just said, what's going on? And she was a non-believer. Her friend
Okay.
made her come, and she paid me $50 because that
Okay.
exchange is important. So long story short, I won't speak about the personal things, but all of a sudden her mother, her grandmother, and her uncle, it was one of my first experiences. It real felt knowing of people on the other side. And they came to
Yeah.
help her, and they cleared out. She was told that she was going to start in vitro, and she was told that she had, a misshapen uterus and all these other things and yada yada. So she was going to the doctor the next day to start this process of in vitro. Well, her mother, grandmother, and uncle came through and gave all kinds of information, detailed. And then they each cleared out the resonance of spirit that had been a baby, what we
Okay.
would call a baby, that didn't make it in here for various reasons.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they cleared all that out and did this beautiful thing and da 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 da. And the next day she went to the doctor to that appointment, and the specialist was like, you don't have a misshapen uterus. And she's, last I knew, I think she was on baby number 3, and so it's really profound work, because it's so profoundly true as to how
Yeah.
we heal, because we are light beings in this physical body, this hologram. And so with that said, it was my way of saying, in that very garage, when I was kind of like, wow, what is
Yeah.
happening? Like,
Yeah.
there's people coming to teach me this and this and that and that. And then I was like, because I've been a tomboy my whole life since I was born, the whole thing. And I was like, God and my guides am I in the right body to serve? And that's when God said, stand up, so I did. And God taught me what is now called breathing the light. But at the time, he demonstrated, and I do say he because it's a beautiful masculine energy, and that's what I want to do. But,
Okay.
and it's non-denominational, showed me by example that we all have a cone of light, and said, your job is to just breathe it in, because it's everywhere. It's everywhere, until somebody figures out how to monetize it, which since then they have, which I think is fun. And he blew into the top of my head, and I went, and I pulled it in. I just knowingly, I don't know if anyone smokes bongs anymore, but I did when I was in high school. And when you pull it off, when the smoke comes up the bong like that, and
Wait, you smoked the God bong? Oh my!
with peppermint schnapps and ice cubes. Yeah,
That'd be the best
yeah.
bong.
My high school boyfriend was a total Wayne's World pothead. Um, so anyway, so that's the visual though. It's like, so you're pulling with your breath and it was this 30-minute thing or whatever, and then I did that. And as I was doing it, he said, now start doing clearing
Okay.
like this. And then I was like, what am I doing? And then I had my hands out. He said, open your eyes. And when I opened my eyes, I could see my light body. I didn't know it was called etheric
Oh,
body. No, I didn't even know what that meant. And he is like humorous or whatever moment for spirit to be watching this, right? Because I was like, what is going on here? you know? And then I continued and I was, there's a video on my website is from that period. It took me a couple years to get the nerve up to make the video, but it's on there on my YouTube. And you clear your etheric body because all you need to do is intend to be doing that. It's not more complicated than that. If you intend with reverence, with no agenda outside of caring for your etheric body first and taking light, because we're light beings. It's salve
yeah.
light on light.
Yeah.
But we focus on this. So then what we're intending is we're moving things, we're clearing our minds, and so I brought it down to my belly button, our solar plexus, and that was the masculine God energy that he said, earth and sky, masculine, feminine is what it was called, because I asked, and then I was pulling feminine energy from the earth and pulling it through with my breath up all the way through the pelvis, clearing all the stuff that's in our pelvises, male and female, and bringing it to meet. As a teaching, this happened. It met with the masculine and went in a clockwise, beautiful, merging, flowing energy, because my question was, am I in the right body to serve? And so ultimately God's answer was, you just need to balance your masculine and feminine energy,
Wow,
because
that's
I
beautiful.
needed to heal my feminine energy so that I could come into its balance. We all need to do it because we're all both.
Yeah, all of us are.
So, we're not male or female in spirit. We take the body to serve, the purpose to experience the traumas and the wounds and all these things. But our gender is not eternal.
Yeah. Okay, so this technique that you're describing here, so if people want to come and find this technique to really dive into it, it's on your YouTube? Is it on your
It is
website
on my
also?
website. Yep, it's on YouTube. I
Okay.
left it on. So go to my YouTube and but it's the main. It's the featured video that I just leave. It's years old, but it's the same. It'll walk you through, and when you wake every day, you can. It's a beautiful recipe of, when your feet hit the ground. First of all, like take in like put a smile on your face. But a spirit recently said, if I could have found my way to joy, crawled my way to joy every day, I would have found my way back to myself. And so, in these moments every day, regardless of what's going on in this physical illusion, right? We breathe life force in and own, put your feet on the ground, but know that like you're also, you're in your light being, you're that fractal, and you need light like you need oxygen. It's mixed, right? So your breath is light and oxygen, and it's for both bodies, but we can clear and we can intend. And as you wake up and you do this, even if you do it, give yourself 60 seconds. Are we worth 60 seconds? I don't know. If you're not, we have a lot more work to do. But
Yeah.
but look at the state of social media. If you don't say something fast, that it's like, well, nobody can pay attention. Well, we need to start paying
Yeah.
attention for longer than 60 seconds, 2 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever
Yeah.
I hear the algorithm is. I have no idea.
Right.
But isn't it a great, what's dropping in here is like, isn't that a great reflection that no one thinks they have the time to give to what could be on the other side of the 10 seconds you think you don't have to watch somebody speak about something that could change your life? I want it right now. It didn't change my
Yeah.
life. I'm out. It's like, but that's the journey. The journey is not like that. The journey is not that fast. So you're missing it.
Yeah. I think that's part of some of the anxiety right now also. It's just everything is so fast right now. And we're not designed to move at this speed. And I think that is a piece of some of the anxiety, which is why I've really recently tried to in the morning get up, and haven't done your technique. I typically get up in the morning, I walk outside barefoot, kind of look at the sun, just try to connect with nature in that way. But why not go out there, stand on the ground, and do your breathing technique with the light? I mean, that would be a beautiful, and the intention piece, I just can't emphasize enough, because I don't think people understand how powerful they are,
No,
and how your intention is so incredibly powerful for your ability to heal and move back to a state of wellness on your physical, emotional, energetic level. And so trying this technique of Bobbi's with your intention, I think could be a really beautiful ritual to use in the morning to just clear yourself of any debris, anything that's in your field that is maybe beginning to cause some disruption to your
and
energy.
ask, right? It's about the asking, because, and it's not just about the action, the
Yeah.
ask. I ask for the words and infuse the resonance of this into the whoever's listening. It's not the act of the doing or the scripting or the, when you said you stand the grounding that people talk about and all this. It's, what is your intention for yourself as a human, as for your humanity, for your physical body, for your evolution, for your reason for being here? Like, before you do any of these things, get aligned with why. Why? Because without the why, without that literally igniting your etheric, your light body, your fractal, eternal fractal, the connection to God, all the trees, the ground you're standing on, all the things are here on our behalf as allies. If you don't understand who you are and why you're doing things, it doesn't matter. And
Mm.
and I know this to be true, and this is the place that we're at. There's a lot of people out there who are such beautiful, eloquent speakers of knowledge. That is wonderful. But if people don't know what to do with the knowledge that they're holding in their mind, and if they're not doing anything with it that is shifting humanity, the planet, the ground, Mother Earth, everything on it that is us, then it doesn't matter what you're saying. It doesn't matter how much information you have stacked in your human mind. If you aren't moving in the world on your soul's behalf, remember, Everything we're doing is supposed to be on our soul's behalf. Our soul is counting on us. That's a huge honor. But if we're not moving
Yeah.
through the world with that knowing, and that our body that we are residing in, both etherically and physically, is the vehicle to serve and comes equipped. It knows more than we do. It already is imprinted with the knowing and the everything that it needs. And so be very careful what you force upon it with your human mind.
You know what? That is such a powerful piece of being so careful with what the mind forces on it. We can all, me included, you get lab work that comes back. Oh, I'm just going to jump and take this thing,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Using your mind without really listening to your body, really sitting with that. That doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to your doctors. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying I agree with Bobbi in that really taking that time, respect your body enough to give it the time to feel into what is my body saying to me? What does my body want? What do I maybe am I taking too much of?
Or what, yes.
So listening.
Or what am I already doing? What's around me, right? So, and what is already being introduced here? Because if you're not well, then something's already been introduced. Speak to your body and just ask, what's going on? What do you need? What don't you need? Now the horses want to come in here, because I was I work a lot with rescue horses, and, but I was in Sedona maybe a couple months ago. This one horse, a couple of them, but the one horse who I worked with, it's a long story, because we hear a lot, well, I'm a horse communicator. Many times I've learned that can tend to mean you understand their behavior as their communication. But the piece we're missing is that they're actually like incredibly clairvoyant, brilliant souls. So when I'm working with a horse, I don't know anything about their behavior. Like, would they do this or this? I get, I'm like, oh shit, I'm scared.
They're big.
Because I don't understand, they do all kinds of things and they're so beautiful and huge or whatever. But I'm not taking that in or communicating with that. I'm communicating the same way I communicate with people on the other side, or God or spirit, or someone in someone's soul or their subconscious or their body when they're in session with me. It's the same. It's the same with trees. It's the same with the land. Everything has a soul brilliance, and that is what is communicated with, because that's where the truth is. Of course, we hear from the subconscious mind and the human mind, but that's not where the truth is. That's where the untruth is, that needs to be in the space so that we can transmute it, right? So, but the horse, so communicating and learning what is actually the soul can tell us what's going on for the horse, right? And I could go on and on about this, because it is one of the things that I love the most. And I feel like, it's my gift for doing this work in many ways. It's sort of the yumminess, also working with people, but helping horses who don't have the voice and are not often seen for the pain that they have experienced, and how we can actually help them. What do they really need? They're just like us. They don't need the same things. There's trauma and experiences and abandonment and terror and all the things they go through. But my point in saying all this is because there was this beautiful awareness I suddenly had when I helped this horse in this herd. It was at this other location, and this horse was like, oh, hey, first thing he was talking about was like, there's some lady that comes to this fence whose breath smells like alcohol. And she says, and no one's around, it's at night, and she says really mean things. And it hurts me and it scares me, because he had suffered all this abuse and this, previous. And so I said, okay, well, and then I said to the woman, he says this, and she's like, oh my God, there's a lady across the street. Da, 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 da. He asked me, can you make her go away? I mean, I'll give it a whirl. I mean, I'll do, if I meant to, then that's what'll happen. And then he said, and she wants to have a sprinkler on. So this other horse wanted a sprinkler, and then this, and it was this, anyway, it was this whole day. And then we went back. So it was his environment. It wasn't just his trauma that was keeping him from healing. It was his environment and everything in it that was affecting his inability to move forward and release these things. And so then we went to where she lives. This woman lives, and she has two other rescue horses that are there, and you can look out her window. And those horses shared a bit. I went and I stood in this. I was guided to stand in the center of their ring, where their corral or whatever. Yeah. After giving all these other messages from them of what they wanted and needed. And, most of it was just physical things, which was hilarious. But one of them said, there's a spirit that comes out of the ground over there that isn't kind. Oh. Can you clear it? And then the energy of this that happened to these kids that's over there is still in the ground. Can you fix it? It spooks us. This, then this, and then the trees started, and then I was like looking, because I can see blocks, just like I can see in people. I can just look. It's I could tell you stories all day about how these things came to be. I wasn't seeking these teachings. They just, all of a sudden, my soul remembered how to do this. And so I can look and see where there's water under the ground. I can see which way it's flowing. I could, where it's blocked, the trauma that the land is holding. But the trees began to share and agree with what the horses were saying. And then they asked me for themselves and guided me sometimes way over to where I couldn't. It wasn't on the land. It was way on someone else's land, but I could see the top of a tree. And they were like, I want to be and need to be energetically connected to that tree. Can you help me? Everyone, until the sun went down, every sentient being on that land and of the earth came in to share how they were out of alignment and what they needed to come back in.
You had a big job that day. You didn't know when you went there. You didn't know how much you were getting into. So with this herd, what happened after you left? Did you hear any communication from the woman who owns this land?
Yeah, she did a video about it, like a short video about it, how it, because then they were like, you need to clean that up, like they gave her all kinds of, which is what happens. We get this beautiful prescription, if you will, of what is uniquely needs to happen for us in our environment, in our body, in our thoughts, in our, wherever we are, right. That is our unique resonance. And, with all the talk about as above, so below. And the truth of that is if we're blocked, everything's blocked, right? If we're sputtering, then it's like those Christmas lights, right? If there's a Christmas, they've made them better now. Oh, yeah. They're better now. Yeah. But remember, if one's loose, then the whole string doesn't work.
Yeah, I remember back in the day. I remember those old school lights.
So where we're at right now is like, slow it down and really take the time to come back in here and begin to really start allowing in without some doing, but just with your intention and your reverence for why you're here as this fractal light at this time. And what is it that you came here to do, but what is it that you came here to heal? Because it's vital, not just to other human beings, but to it's vital to the trees and the earth and the grass. I mean, it's vital. And there's no way to fake that. And too many of us are faking it. And that's okay, but that's coming from pain. that's coming from I'm not
Yeah.
enough. All the different array of lies, of untruths that are in our space, that we're out here trying to get this pain to go away with exterior things. And so just know that your guides, your soul, the trees, the ocean, the earth, the ground, the flower, everything knows the truth. And when you're walking around without the true, real intention of coming to take ownership of knowing that you are both human and perfect already with all this stuff, also here as that light being, to do your part, the thing that you said you would do for all of us, it's known that you're not really doing it. It's not like
Mhm.
you're in trouble and you're going to, it's not that. It's just that
Yeah.
we have to start really understanding that nothing gets past spirit, our soul. Yeah.
So this is a really good question that no one needs to answer, but it's something to think about, what Bobbi just posed here. And the question is, are you doing the thing you said you would do? That's a great question. Am I doing the thing my soul said
Yeah.
it
And
came
does
here
it
to do?
matter to you?
Yeah. It's a great question to just sit with, not have to have an answer. There may be more than one thing. It's not just one thing, but I think we do feel that there's a driving force. I mean, maybe you've come here and you learn through your family, and it's not just a career or vocation or whatever it is, but there is a North Star, I feel like, for most of us, of what propels us and drives us. And are you really allowing yourself to do, are you gifting yourself, allowing yourself to do what you said you're going to do?
Yeah. From your reaction, even today, it's evident that not enough people have simplified it down to that, because it's like, oh gosh, we say, I want to find my way to life purpose. That's become a thing that is creating pain instead
Mm-hmm.
of a thing that is igniting that everything's possible. That what is that? Oh, what is that thing? What is the thing that I said that I was going to do can become whatever that is. Like my dad was a
Yeah.
West Point grad attorney, right? And I laugh about this now because it was only probably within this last year that I understood what he was saying. But when I was little and younger, he would say, Barbarino, I don't care if you're an underwater basket weaver. Just be the best underwater basket weaver there is. And of course I'm just like, okay, Dad, you know, whatever that is, you know what I mean? Or what kind of like dad joke is that? Or, I just was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And because he's always with me and he reminds you, he's like, this is what I meant.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. And I do want to address something that you've come back to a couple of times here about, a lot of people feel like, oh, I need to be doing this certain thing and become a healer. I agree with you in that to be a healer, you don't have to be a so-called healer. Healers are found everywhere. Everywhere you go, when you approach life and you approach your community and each person, I mean, the best healers could be your
For
grocery store
sure.
cook who is smiling and sending love to every person walking past them all day long. That little burst, that little bit. And so I do feel like I've seen a lot too of people suddenly like, oh, I need to be a healer to do what I'm meant to do. I agree. It's bring that energy, bring that love, bring your gift to
Yeah.
whatever it
I
is,
mean,
whatever it is that you're
right.
called to
That's
do.
why I say we were joking before we started recording, like, and I mean this, I say, because I love hot dogs, I'm from Chicago and I'm going back. So I can't wait to have a hot dog from this very specific place called the Wiener Circle. They do char dogs. It's this whole thing. And if you can make a really good hot dog, that is such a high level service, because I haven't been back there in 20 years and I literally can't wait to go to that place to eat one of those magical hot dogs. It brings me joy, and like joy is a healer, right? So
Yeah.
like my
Yeah.
hair is standing with the thought, right? And my body is already releasing things because I'm bringing joy into my cells. And a guy that's in an old trailer sitting on a parking lot, crammed in there, is healing people by making these hot dogs. And if who doesn't love to come home to their home having been cleaned, while you were away, that smell and your sheets and blah, like all the things. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
what a high level service that is. Everything. I've worked with a lot of people recently who are therapists, child therapists, teachers, nurses,
Mhm.
and they're like, I just want to find my way to purpose. So I'm taking, somatic courses, and body work and this and that and this and this so that I can find my way to purpose. And they're literally helping children heal at school, standing in their life purpose. It's just that they're not aware of of weaving your soul into what it is you're doing right here, right now. Because maybe as we wrap this up and come around full circle,
Yeah.
I used to work in an acid room, and I had to wear a big mask and a coat, rubber thing. And I've done so many jobs that were, terrible. But every single thing that I did the best that I could with it. And everything has led me here. And so
Yeah.
whatever it is you're doing in this very moment, find your passion, create passion within it, change it somehow, change something that you're doing, but be so present to this very moment and whatever it is you're doing, because you are there by divine guidance. Not by mistake, not because you're not in the right place, not because when this happens, you'll be there. It's right now.
Okay. I literally just worked with that with my last client today, of feeling like they had made a mistake in their marriage, in their career. I have made a mistake. I think I've done my life wrong. And that causes
It causes
such
suicidal thoughts. I
anxiety.
know it. That's what I started with. It
You,
causes us to think
yeah,
that we are not worthy to be here. It has to
yeah.
stop.
So I love this. This is a great, I think, point to kind of pull it all in. Clearly you have so much to share. We didn't even get to your pilgrimage. There's so many questions. There's so much you do that we may have
Let's
to do a
do it.
part two at a later date so we can hear some of these other things that you've done, but you've shared such a wealth of incredible information. And thank you for just so openly sharing your really incredible journey and helping people to understand that we all are divinely guided. We all are right where we're supposed to be. And using our intention and leaning into faith, leaning into trusting that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and using your intentions for how you're going to navigate your life and how you're going to move forward, because your soul is propelling you forwards towards evolution
And
always
right.
and
And that
continually.
propelling sometimes is like this. It doesn't
Yeah.
it
And so,
doesn't
yeah,
matter. And this woman that I helped, who I actually wrote a book about, uh,
we
but
didn't even get into the
But
book. That was
anyway,
an
it's
amazing
called The
story.
Power of Spirit, a Mother's Love. She just popped in here and reminded me that as I was co-writing this book with her, she said, because she's helping me heal my voice, she said, it matters not what people think. It matters not what anyone else is doing. I trust spirit, and I above anyone with a human mind, and I mean that with so much love, including me, right? Is like,
Yeah.
they doesn't matter. Upon review and the truth of us as light beings, it doesn't matter. It's never mattered. And I don't want to wait till I get to the other side to live my life differently. And so that's all I hope for other people. It's why I share, I emote as much of the teachings as I can, because I want us all to not be in pain. I want us all to be tethered to faith. I want us all to understand that we have an army of help around us, and all we have to do is understand we are worthy enough to ask. They're waiting. They're waiting. That's their purpose. We're keeping them from being in service by not asking.
Yeah. And I love what you said about the life review, that someone said to you, even if you have to crawl to joy.
And some days you
So
do.
if you're hearing this, yeah, even if you have to crawl. So Bobbi, thank you so much. Can you please share with our listeners how people can find you, connect with you? I know you do sessions. So what's the best way for somebody to reach
My
you?
website is ethericmedicine.com. You can also it's Bobbi Vogel, goes to the same place, BOBBIVOGEL.com. And, all my links that are there and stuff. My book I'm expanding on it, but it's on Amazon, The Power of Spirit, A Mother's Love. And I'm beginning to create groups again and, move into this expansion since getting home in late March from 6 months off the grid. And I'm really excited
Yeah.
about it. And thank you for the work that you're doing as well. Yeah.
Bobbi, beautiful to connect with you. Thank you so much. I'm going to reach back out again to do a part 2 and hear about the pilgrimage, hear about the book, hear about you've talked with women and people in comas and helped that. There's so much more that we did not even get a chance to dive into. Hopefully
Yeah, for
we
sure.
can get you carve out some time in the
That'd be great.
future. All right.
Thank
Thanks
you,
all for being
everyone.
here with us. Bye-bye.